Welcome back to the Wizard Weekly, where we talk about everything in gaming. So I don't know if you guys know about this title, Light of Motiram, but it is a recently announced, new open world game coming out soon, made by Polaris Quest, which is a new developer with this being their first game that I've seen on the internet. And Polaris Quest, this is a subsidiary of Tencent Games, which, if you don't know about Tencent, then you just don't really know ball, because Tencent, not only they have so many subsidiaries that publish a grand majority of some of the biggest games in the world, at least on the mobile side, but they even have stakes in some of the biggest gaming companies in the world, such as Riot Games, to be naming one of them. So they have a lot of cookie in just a lot of different places as far as the gaming industry goes. They're like the allfather of gaming. Anyways, they decided to publish this new open world title that's going to be set in this dystopian world where all the animals are basically these big ass Transformers looking mechs, and you have to survive, tame these animals, and thrive in this world. You can go up to co-op and single player, and just looking side by side from what you see on the screen, because I put this gameplay here on purpose. People are claiming that this is just a big rip-off of Sony's Horizon series with Aloy, and to be fair, on the spectrum of games that this title is trying to copy from or take inspiration from, it does also have mechanics from like Power World, and the fact that you can tame these animals and use them to farm the land and do your work for you. So they have those features in this upcoming game. Funny enough, Power World is also a title that Nintendo's going after for copying Pokemon. So we'll see if Sony decides to follow the same route that their Japanese brethren decided to go down. But I will say, comparing these two gameplays side by side, I do think that Horizon's combat is more like focused and just overall refined to have a fine-tuned experience for a wide range of gamers, since it is a AAA game that's supposed to appeal to a lot of people. And Light of Motiram just looks like classic hack and slash, where the camera is just wide. What the fuck? Where the camera's just wide angle and you just have to dodge, parry, and just get your moves in on time. But I gotta say, the people that was playtesting this freaking gameplay here, they suck. Like, dude, look at how many hits he got in with this big ass hammer. Yeah, look at this dude. One hit, he's down. Two, oh, he missed that. He dodged that. And now he's down. Like, this dude, what are you doing, man? Whatever this weapon is looks just clunky and just holding him down. I'm sure it does a lot of damage, but he's obviously not making it do any justice for his gameplay, because he just got hit twice and he just got hit again. Like, this dude, he's not the best at the game. He just got comboed as well. But yeah, as you can see, this Light of Motiram title is yet to be announced as far as a release date. People are speculating sometime between early and mid 2025, but it's gonna be coming out for PS5, PC, and mobile gaming. This is the announced consoles as of right now. So it's really crazy to think that mobile gaming is like an official tier of gaming nowadays. Like, what the hell are we carrying in our pockets every day? But the game itself just looks really interesting, and I wanted to talk about it because I haven't played the Horizon Zero series. I don't know why. I played every other PlayStation IP except for this, basically. So I can't really give it like a fair judgment and saying like this is what the game is trying to be, at least outside of like visually, obviously. But I just want to see what the player reception is going to be, because like I said, we did have that Power situation where people, they called it a clone at first, but then when they got a chance to play it, they really enjoyed it, and it overtook even Pokemon, and it led to where we are right now, to where Nintendo was just losing their shit, crashing out over court and over that game. So we're going to see if that happens with this title as well, and I'm going to be really interested in that. Moving on, we're talking about Nintendo, and I just got to say, I've been playing Brothership for the last couple of, like a week and a half now, and this game, oh my god, this is JRPG levels of game. Like, this shit is longer than Giraffe Neck. Holy shit. And like I said, this is the kind of game where you just play it, you can turn your mind off and just get absorbed in the mechanics. I haven't really paid attention to the story in like a while. Like, I'm on Slipping Glide Island, and that's all I can really say about that. Anyways, while that title is kind of taking up on my Nintendo, space as far as like playing games on that console, Nintendo just recently announced the upcoming games for December of 2024 in a recent blog post, and I just wanted to briefly go over these lists and just see what's going on here. Obviously, before I recorded, I kind of glanced over these just so I could tab them up and have shit to talk about. But the first game we got here is Anton Blast, which is this new 2D side-scrolling puzzle game that's going to be coming out out of, who's the developer? Okay, this is developed by Summersphere, which I've never heard of, and they even made this game in Game Maker. That's really inspiring. That's pretty cool. But from what I've read, this title takes a lot of inspiration from the Wario Land games, which we haven't had a new iteration in God knows how long. It's like since the Wii era, since we got a new Wario Land game. That was just a, was that a Nintendo eShop exclusive. I don't even remember, that was a long ass time ago. But yeah, heavy with the old school, you know, flash game pixel art vibes, and just overall fast-paced action that people are likely going to enjoy if you're seeking out this game that comes out on December 3rd of this month. And moving on to a game coming out on December 5th, we got Fantasia Neo Dimension, which is an upcoming RPG turn-based combat type of game that's developed by Mistwalker. And Mistwalker, the founder of that studio, is the person that created the Final Fantasy franchise, and his name is, well, I'm not going to say it because I'm going to butcher it, I know I am, so I'm going to put on the screen, you guys can go translate that shit for yourselves and figure it out. But this is an upcoming title that many OG, you know, RPG fans are looking forward to, since, like I said, it is by the person that spearheaded the original Final Fantasy games back in, you know, the early 2000s, well, in late 90s, early 2000s. Now, personally, I'm not really a fan of the art style that the game is going for, at least in the environments. Like they say here in the trailer, they have these handmade diorama scale of environments that they're mixing with digital characters, and I'm not mad at that choice because, you know, we obviously have really cool games that do this, like Harold Halibut that came out last year, which is a story game that's made completely, you know, animated. But I'm just not a fan of it visually. Like, looking at it, kind of looks like those old, you know those games we got in the stereo box that you can just plug into your PC that was a stupid, like, Kellogg's fucking shit that just looked hand sculpted. I'm not really a fan of this. The combat itself, I have no doubt is going to be anything less than intriguing and really, you know, captivating as a player to, you know, direct all of these, you know, shots going on in a turn-based round. The game is 50 bones and it's obviously going to be on the Switch, every console including last gen, and even, as you can see here, on PC. And moving on to one that brings me kind of a little personal joy just because of, you know, reasons that don't even make sense. We got Fitness Boxing 3, and basically another iteration to the whole fitness boxing, the whole fitness series that we got in the Nintendo Switch. Now, obviously, this is a spiritual successor to the Wii Fit franchise that was called Wii Fit, with the, you know, the balance board and all that shit. And this is the spiritual successor since they kind of dropped that whole thing, Nintendo. But I'm glad to see these kinds of, you know, motion control niche games that Nintendo carved out for themselves still be a thing in the big 2024 and 2025, because, you know, I feel like people don't really understand that the bulk of what you're paying for on a Switch, outside of obviously the OLED screen and, you know, being able to put it on your console, and I mean having a handheld and then putting on your screen, is the fact that there's freaking IR motion sensors and, you know, the motion controls that the Switch has that people kind of don't really use that much, at least compared to having games like, you know, a Zelda or a Mario title where you just pick it up, play it, and then that's that. But people don't really play the Switch, at least from what I've seen, for the motion control games, and I think that's a big waste because you're paying a lot of money for obviously that. So, you know, I'm glad to see these games still being a thing. I love the Nintendo Switch Sports title. But yeah, this game drops on the 12th, and it's going to be at a $49.99 base price tag from what I'm seeing. So yeah, pretty steep price tag for that too. And then moving on to a genre that I'm only, you know, this year really getting into as far as, like, you know, other games, we got Stella of the End, which is a visual novel. Now, from what this game came out back in 2021. Oh shit, I'm way off. It came out last year, September 26th. But from what I've heard, this is a really easy to pick up visual novel that I'm kind of interested in, because people are claiming that it's good for, like, beginners of this franchise of, you know, a genre of game. And that's all I really know about it, because I don't really get too much deep into spoiling the story for myself in case I do want to play it. But yeah, Still of the End, people are saying this is one of the best visual novel games of this decade, so that's really cool to hear. But yeah, developed by Visual Arts Key, going to be coming out on the Switch specifically on December 5th at $24.99, which is, I'm not gonna lie, we just saw on Steam it was for like $13 on sale. So that's, you know, the parts you got to pay to, you know, remain exclusive to your console. It kind of sucks sometimes. Then we got Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver 1 and 2 Remastered being ported over to the Switch finally. And I gotta say, man, Soul Reaver, this is one of those old school, like, okay, don't want to hear that snap. No disrespect to the Switch, but this is the kind of game that I gotta play on PlayStation. I don't know why. I can't explain it. Whatever I say isn't going to justify what I'm saying, but I just would rather play this on like a PlayStation console for some reason. Like this gives me those vibes of, you remember all those freaking cartoon, like on Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon games that would have tie-in hack and slash games that you could buy for, or on GameCube and shit. Like, I would rather play that on those consoles, because that's the kind of vibes that this gives me. But yeah, Legacy of Kain coming out on the 10th of December at the $29.99 price tag for base, but it's on sale for $26.99 until on the 10th of 10:59 a.m. So literally the day that it comes out is going to come off sale. So that's, you know, something. And second to last, we have Title Milestones 3, which is a new iteration in this series of classic arcade games from the 80s and 90s that apparently people are nostalgic for, at least at a $35.99 price tag. I don't really know much about this era of gaming, to be honest with you guys, but it comes out on the 10th, and yeah. And lastly, releasing on December 13th, we have Fairy Tail 2, which is an upcoming tie-in RPG title based on the Fairy Tail anime and manga series, which I've never even been recommended as far as anime, and I've been in a lot of anime group chats before, so I don't know if that's just, you know, the fault on people I'm with, or, you know, this is even anything to write home about. I don't want to diss in case anybody, you know, does really enjoy this Fairy Tail series. Obviously, they made a game out of it, so, you know, there's something good about it. First Fairy Tail game came out in about 2020, I believe, or 2021. And that did pretty well, at least with the core fan base, and now they're coming back with a sequel RPG based title. And I don't, this guy, he reminds me of that one character off of Soul Eater. What's his name? I haven't watched Soul Eater in a long time. What's his name? Yeah, freaking Black Star. Yeah, it's reminding me of that dude, but I don't know. I'm gonna have to watch Fairy Tail just to, you know, see if this anime is really good or not. I haven't seen anything about it, but yeah, that's the list. And then moving on, we once again have Riot Games continuing their effort to, you know, stop as much player exploiting and just player overall toxic behaviors on their games as much as they can. Now, a couple months ago, they had a similar video to the one that I have on the screen right now, where they just sat down and talked to players, saying how they're trying to implement as many ways for players to not feel harassed playing specifically Valorant, since that game can get toxic as hell, being a team-based, you know, voice chat experience where people are just wanting to have to mute just to be able to play the game because they don't want to deal with the shit that happens in voice chat. And basically in this dev update video, Anna Donlin, she explains how Riot Games has done their part in trying to tune down as much player toxicity as they can, you know, implementing their new terms of service rules as hard as they possibly can without being too over egregious, you know, going after players that are just bantering with their friends on the game, or how they're using their kind of, in my opinion, controversial feature of having voice recording on all voice chats in the game to, you know, automatically ban people that are using like heinous words and shit. And I only say that's controversial to me because I don't like shit recording me at all when I don't want it to. Like, I don't even take my phone in certain places because I know Google is listening at all times, and Apple and Siri, and I don't like freaking smart speakers because they are listening to us all the time, because how they know when you're saying like, hey Siri, hey Google, you know. I don't really like that at all. But she claims that that method, while it is still in beta form, has toned down 70% of online harassment, which is really cool to hear. You know, Call of Duty has something similar that's had similar numbers as far as like, you know, tuning down toxic players. But while that's all pretty basic stuff and, you know, still cool to hear, what people online are really talking about as far as Riot Games and their new enforcing of rules is the fact that they've upgraded their terms of service to the fact that content creators, if they have their game, any Riot game in the background, and are shit talking any other players in a really heinous way, like using language that obviously goes against the terms of service for anything, Riot Games can now ban you, which is really interesting thing that people kind of are taking the wrong way as like an invasion of privacy. But at the same time, I understand it, because I feel like this kind of more applies to, obviously this is going to streamers and shit, but I feel like this is more towards like, you know, bigger platform people. They might have the backing of an audience to echo chamber their thoughts, and, you know, they might feel just justified in whatever they're saying, even if it isn't the best thing. I haven't seen it before, you know. I'm not sick of any speaking from any examples or anything. I'm just saying, like, in general, like hypothetically. But specifically, they say that, as an example, if a creator uses hateful slurs about an opposing player or teammate on their stream but not in-game or voice chat or voice comms, we can still issue a penalty as if that player behavior occurred in game. And this is obviously subject to, you know, suspending your Riot account or suspending your partner privileges if you're, you know, getting monetized by Riot Games to play their titles. Now, the only thing where I'm concerned that this opens up a little bit of, you know, weirdness and just, you know, kind of technicalities is the fact that, you know, what if someone is talking shit about another player from another game, but, well, then maybe a player could just clip that, send it to Riot Games, you know, social media accounts, and then they could just ban that player for saying that they were shit talking in a Riot game, but maybe to a player that wasn't in, you know, the actual Valorant title. So that is the only place where I think, you know, this is gonna need some heavy moderation, and obviously, you know, you're gonna need some definitive clips and, you know, names to know exactly who they're talking shit about, because if players find cracks in this new method of, you know, getting players banned and out of the paint, then, you know, they're definitely going to exploit that to creators that they just probably don't like, or people that they just don't like. And they also say here that this is specifically and only content to where Riot's games are the background of the content being produced. So maybe, I'm guessing that can even apply to like like, you know, those commentary videos like my videos used to be, or they are still now, but when I have a Riot game on the screen and maybe just talking shit about McDonald's, I might say a hate slur about McDonald's, could that get me banned? You know, I think they might have to revise this list just a little bit more now that I'm thinking more about it, and, you know, just really thinking about all the different scenarios that can play out. Even though, to be fair, I shouldn't be using a hate slur in general, but, you know, still, I just think that the base of what they're trying to go for isn't that much of a problem, as long as they iron out the kinks and don't leave room for interpretation, because that is where it can get really annoying. So yeah, cool for Riot Games, but I just think they need to, you know, put this back into the oven for a little bit and cook it up a little more. And lastly for today, I read this article before I started recording, and it was a really interesting point brought up upon AAA games that I haven't really seen. I've seen this, you know, point before, just I haven't really talked about it much in my videos, because, you know, I've done my fair share of, you know, shit talking how AAA games is in a really weird state since it's money over creativity, and, you know, there's no real guarantee as far as like a career in development nowadays, since, you know, studios getting shut down left and right and people are getting moved over, and, you know, some of the more veteran creators they see this and they're going on to make their own studios, like this dude here in this interview. Paul Sage, who was a director on Borderlands 3 and Elder Scrolls Online, he claimed in this article that people in the AAA game studios are having issues. For one of the reasons they're having issues is the fact that with AAA studios having these big overheads and, you know, investors that invest all this money and want to make sure that, you know, they're getting their investment back and then some, they'll creep into the development process of a game, and they'll see a mechanic or, you know, a snippet of a game, and they'll want to show it off before it's ready, or, you know, before the painting is done, is how Sage describes it in this interview. Specifically, he says that you have people who get nervous because big money is involved, so they say, let's put this in front of a user group right now, when you're like, this is not ready for it to be seen. At this point, they'll be getting half of the picture. Now in this example, Sage is talking about how developers will have a mechanic that they've been working really hard on, is going to be pretty innovative, but the overheads will want people to, you know, get that out into like a really small player group and have it just out there premature before it's done and ready to be shown, which Sage explained that during this time working in the AAA industry, that was a really huge problem. But I think that this also applies to just the fact that, you know, we see games being released way before they're ever ready, whether it's to meet deadlines or, you know, like the Stalker franchise, maybe because the game got delayed so many times that, you know, delaying it even further would just look like, you know, a loss of interest in a game that's likely never going to come out, even Starfield, you know, those kinds of titles. And it really sucks because it started to create the norm of this expectancy of these, you know, microwave heated ass games in the fact that, you know, they're hot on the outside and cold in the middle. Like, they have the idea, but the execution is just terrible. Like Jedi Survivor last year, that game dropped and it was in an insane state. But again, most of the time, the people that are making these games, like the developers themselves, they're passionate about whatever they're making on, whether it's the IP or, like I said, the game mechanics. There's specific teams for just game mechanics, so they're obviously hardcore about what they're doing. It's just the overheads and the publishers and the investors that are, you know, rushing these things out, and the fact that we live in a digital world where, you know, we can have what we just had with Stalker 2 and a 650 plus bug fix patch that, you know, can come out a day after or whenever, you know, it needs to come out after the game drops. So don't get me wrong, obviously comparing this day and age of gaming to maybe like, you know, an N64 type of game, if that game had a glitch in it, you know, that was just lore. Like, that was just a feature in the game if the game had a glitch in those kind of games, since we didn't have, you know, DLCs. You know, later on we did have, like, you know, recalls, you know, you could take the game back, get the fix, and then, you know, even that's still a process though, but now you can just download stuff. But still, it just, the fact that we have all these obviously passionate developers and studios that want to make the most out of whatever they're investing in, I just think that, you know, normalization of crunching and, you know, rushing game developers isn't gonna get this AAA games studio anywhere. It's got us where we are right now, where AAA is damn near falling off in terms of like what it used to be, and you know, as far as like the money in it. Now we have a significant focus on, you know, smaller budget indie titles or AA games. I don't even like the double AAA title. I'm just saying it so you guys know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's a really weird spot for gaming right now. But yeah, that's all I got for today, man. If you enjoyed, like the video, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.